See what happens. Well, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining the Nerd Informer podcast. We have a special guest today, Paul from Paranormal Among Us podcast.
Hmm?
Paul, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
No
Yeah,
problem.
thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
man. I've been going through some of your old videos and podcasts and watching them. I've kind of become a
Awesome.
fan.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do some good stuff.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I went all the way back to the first one, and it's funny. It's funny talking to podcasters
Yeah.
because you can see how they grow. You know, like you've been doing about the same amount of time as we have, and the same like
About the
episode
same
count.
episodes.
So
Yeah.
you know, it's funny to go back and watch the first one and then watch like your last one that you did, and just see it's a cool thing.
It is really weird. I did that a while back. That I was looking at mine like, man, did I really used to sound like that? And was it really that uncomfortable?
Yeah. You know, you just
But
feel I don't know. The first time you do it, you're like, I don't know what to do.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. It's been fun. It's been a fun journey.
yeah, you figured it out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
what made you get into podcasting? What brought you
Well,
there?
I'd been doing this for a long time, podcasting for a long time, different types of shows,
Oh, okay.
sports mostly,
Right.
kind of like a personal interest one where we would just have guests on and stuff and just, talk about life and everything. And I had one that I thought was really going to be cool, that was really going to work for me, but it didn't. It was I'm from St. Louis, Missouri,
Okay.
and nobody here really does much on high school sports.
Okay.
So I had one where I was talking with coaches, players, and stuff from around the area.
No, that's
And,
awesome.
I thought, man, this is going to be really good. This is going to take off. And it died miserably.
Right.
So,
Why
but,
why paranormal? What brought you to that?
I don't know. I've always been interested in paranormal, watching, TV shows and, but before doing this, not really watching podcasts on it or anything, but
Right, yeah.
I've always believed in stuff. I've never really had any experiences until I started doing this.
Okay.
And
Were you
when
were you searching for the experience when you had it, or did it just
no,
happen?
it just happened. Um, and I've always been intrigued by ghosts and UFOs and to a lesser extent Bigfoot. I'm kind of getting into that a little bit more, all the cryptids and stuff. But my first love, I guess you can call it, is ghosts and UFOs and stuff like that.
I
Right
think
on, man.
we're pretty much the same on that. I mean, we've
Yeah.
grown over like doing our podcasts. We more and more look into certain things like that: UFOs, UAPs, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
We're huge on Bigfoot, and we do want to travel to Alaska eventually, just to go. I mean, have the experience of
That would
just
be
going
cool.
there, just
Yeah.
the wilderness of it, and see what we can find.
Yeah. I got invited to, a lot of this podcast is getting to meet the right people.
Sure. Yeah.
And, I got in with a group that I got invited to Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky. And that's a heavy Dogman and Bigfoot area.
Okay.
And, the more I'm watching TV shows on this or other podcasts now on that area, like, uh, do I really want to do this?
What happens if I find them?
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I got I had a knee replacement about a year ago, and I'm not really able to
Right.
run too well.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to
But
trip somebody, man.
yeah, as long as I'm faster than the slowest one,
That's
I'm
it,
good.
man. Just
Exactly.
trip
Yeah.
them and run.
Yeah,
I saw one of your episodes where you were doing an investigation, like a paranormal investigation, it looked like.
at Ashmore Estates.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was that was the first ever investigation that I've ever been on, and I don't know if you saw the one that I had the footage that I captured there, but
some of it. I heard like the one that had like the bell and stuff that was going off or
yeah,
yeah.
we had these little bells like you ring at the doctor's office for service or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And I'm walking around with that and I'm holding it and it goes off a couple times. I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't me that did it, but it could have been just me, moving.
Moving it.
So I
Yeah.
set it out on the ground. It went off a couple times. We asked spirits to ring it, and we have cat balls that would
Yep,
go
I got
off. So, I'm in this boiler room, and there's supposedly a spirit of a guy named Joe down there. So I'm down there, and that's where the bell rings, and I heard noises in the back room of the boiler room. And I really, heard a grunt. I went in there, I asked, "Is anybody here?" And I heard a grunt. Um, so, at the time, I didn't think anything else of it until I'm back here. I'm downloading all the stuff and I'm watching the footage. And in from the boiler room, I was turning to go up the steps or something like that, and I hear a disembodied voice saying, "We're watching."
No
It
way.
freaked me out. It was cool. My wife works downstairs, and I think, man, I got something, and it was really cool. It was really neat. I didn't expect anything like that to come through, but I'm glad it did.
I don't know if at the time, if that happened to me, if I would just be frozen from how
Hmm.
like scared I would be from that situation, especially if you're doing it like pitch black or in the dark.
Yeah,
But
I mean, we didn't hear it when we were filming it.
oh, okay, okay.
you
Just
had the
Yeah,
recording,
so
yeah.
caught it. Sorry.
yeah. So I'm like, well, nothing's here. I mean, I heard, voices in the other rooms and stuff and other equipment going off in the house. But
Even the bell. If I heard the bell, it'd be like a gunshot. I'd be like, oh God. I'd be
yeah,
freaked out.
yeah. I was in one room and I had the bell sitting on the ledge, and I'm like, are you happy that we're here? And nothing happened. And I asked, do you want us to leave? I didn't even get the word leave out, and it was ringing. Like, okay, see ya, I'm out. Grabbed the bell and I took off. So
Oh
Everybody
man.
wants to be a ghost hunter until ghost things happen, and
Eh,
yeah.
it's like, you know
And
what? I'm gonna go.
but the thing that kind of intrigued me, but you see these TV shows, and I'm not saying that they're fake or anything, but the actions are all enhanced, I guess,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for to make really good TV, because you're
Like,
not gonna,
yeah,
oh, did you hear that? Yeah, I heard that. You're gonna want
yeah.
the shock factor. And that's kind of one thing that I wanted to experience myself, is if I would hear a bell ringing, or if I would hear a disembodied voice, or we even had something like a rock thrown in our direction, how I would react to it. And it wasn't as scary as I thought. I'm like, oh, look, there's a rock that came towards us.
Did you
And
ever
the people I was with, they kept saying, they're not big on taking a whole lot of equipment. I just had my phone and a cat ball and a bell.
Right, yeah.
okay.
And she kept saying, pay attention to what you're feeling. If you're feeling cold, or you feel like you're walking through a spider web, that's probably a spirit that you're going through. So I had that one time, and I'm like, this is weird. But I mean, nothing really bad happened to me
Meanwhile, there's a
after that.
spider on your back.
Yeah.
I got bit by a black widow because I thought it was
Yeah,
haunted.
yeah.
I would always
Yeah.
think about if I brought something home with me unintentionally. I like, do you ever get that feeling from doing that? You just
I,
feel like
I
it's
I did worry about that. I have a couple more investigations that I'm going on. One in a couple weeks here in Missouri. But the first one I went to in Ashmore, Illinois, that supposedly wasn't a bad one.
Mhm.
Wasn't a whole lot of evil spirits there. But the one I'm going to on the 19th and 20th supposedly has some negative energy there. So I'm a little worried about that. But they say that take what you think will protect you.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
have a rosary from my dad that I'm going to take with me. I know he wouldn't ever let me get hurt. And my parents have passed on, and I know they're watching over me. So I'm not terribly, terribly concerned about it. But I mean, it is in the back of my head, especially when my wife said, "You better not bring any of that
Yeah.
stuff home." I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'd be
yeah,
more afraid of
that's
her when you do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Trust me, I am.
When you go on these tour hunts, how do you? Uh, do you have to get permission? Obviously, you have to get the permission. But would you just call these people up and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
I want to hunt your property,"
Well,
or
a lot of the places they're open for investigations, you have to, book them so far in advance. And when I went, it was an event with another podcast group.
oh, okay,
Okay.
So I was a kind of a guest speaker at the time. And they have another event at Malvern Mansion up in Iowa that I can't go to, and a couple other events. And the one that I'm going to in on the 19th, um, yeah, we had to pay to go there.
Okay.
But
Oh,
a
okay.
lot of them, and I haven't done these, are private investigations where people, their house is haunted or whatever, and they reach
Yeah.
out to certain individuals and say, "Hey, can you come out and maybe clear the house or check it and see what we got?" So I want to
Yeah.
do one of those.
I gotta get down on that. I
Yeah,
Yeah,
want to go
definitely.
do some hunting.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, definitely
yeah,
want to try it one day.
I gotta
yeah.
admit, I watch Ghost Hunters and all those shows because I'm
Hmm.
just endlessly fascinated by stuff. But
Hmm.
obviously, like you said, the production is much different than if you were actually there doing it. So I wonder what that experience would be like if you were in a very haunted place, with not so great ghosts, what that experience would really be like. It's hard to get that grasp when you're watching it on TV.
Yeah. I mean, I went into this place knowing that it wasn't really evil. So
Right.
maybe that was
A little
allowing me to
different.
walk down a pitch
Yeah,
black
yeah.
corridor.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you never go any place by yourself either.
Right. Okay.
And it's all about intent. What you want to find there is what you're going to get. I mean, if you go in there
Sure.
looking
Yeah.
for an evil entity, then you're going to
yeah.
get something. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, me and my daughter, when we travel, we try to stay at haunted hotels, and it's never really worked out until this last time. We were in San Antonio, and we were at the Manger Hotel, and we stayed on the third floor. And I got an EMF reader and a cat ball, the usual stuff. And I tried to do
mhm.
some EVP, but we didn't really get much. But we got a couple of good EMF readings, and the cat ball went off a few times.
Yeah.
Where when it completely shouldn't have, at certain times where we ask it to and stuff. So that was pretty. I don't know if it was haunted, but that woke me up a little bit, and I'm like, I don't know if I should mess with some of this stuff. But it was fun. Like she loves doing it, and but the problem is when she sees anything that she thinks is a ghost, she's hiding under the sheet, so it doesn't really. It's no
You
fun for
do
her.
that and provoke it, and then go to sleep in the same
Yeah.
room. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I
Just
was gonna
Yeah.
tie
ghosts in
fish.
the room.
I was gonna tie fishing line to the bottom of the sheets on her bed, and as she's sleeping, just pull them down.
I would have laughed.
That would have been awesome.
She would have ran out of that hotel so fast.
Oh,
She would have ran through the door, not
Oh
opened it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
yep.
third floor or
that would
not, she would have been out the window.
that would have been hilarious.
We did one in we did one in St. Augustine. We went on a ghost tour, but it was like one of these public ghost tours or whatever.
Hmm.
And you go to like there was the oldest jail, and then you go to a cemetery. At the cemetery is kind of weird because the whole idea is that there's two children that play in that cemetery,
Hmm.
and the only way you can see them is by taking pictures, and you just randomly start taking pictures, and you don't see them in the picture that you take, but you see them like you said, like after you get home and you put them on a computer and you get you high def them up and everything, you can actually see, you'll see images of these
All right.
kids. And she actually got two, like,
Yeah.
they look like children, but they were like green orb type things, but they were full bodied kind of, but they were just, it was like a green mist, but you could see two very defined something or
Like
others.
beans almost.
Yeah, kind of, but they were about the size of a child, and it's just like they described. And I'm like, wow, that's
And
I
only
was,
she caught it, right? You didn't catch
yeah,
it on
yeah.
That's
I had the
cool.
same. I was taking the
Yeah.
same pictures, and
Yeah.
everybody else was taking all the
Yeah.
pictures, and yeah, it was interesting for sure.
That's cool. That's cool. One place that I would really like to go is Gettysburg. I was just watching TV downstairs before I came up here, and they had footage from Gettysburg hauntings and
Yeah,
soldiers that appear by cannons and stuff, and
right.
like, that would be kind of cool to go through there at night.
Don't they say sometimes they also hear the drums when they
Yeah,
play?
Yeah,
Like they actually
yeah.
hit the drums. Yeah,
hear
I've
the
actually heard
drums
about
and
that.
You'll
That'd
see
be a cool one
you'll
to
see
go to.
soldiers walking across the street just randomly, and like
yeah,
all kinds of
gunshots
stuff.
going off.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's
that would be kind of cool. Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
The one I
yeah,
want to check out is in Las Vegas. They have a really good one. Ian's that's the tunnel. Forgot
There's a
where it's
tunnel
at.
by Lake Mead. I guess they have like
Yeah.
a lot of hauntings at Lake Mead from
yeah,
people that like drowned or whatever. But they got
yeah,
like a tunnel. They did a Ghost Adventures episode on it.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah, I
Um,
remember
saw it
seeing that
once.
one. Yeah,
yeah, so that's kind of cool. It'd be kind of cool
yeah,
to check out.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point with that show that I just watch like the first half hour or so of that
Yeah,
about the history of wherever they're
yeah,
going
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff, and then I just okay.
They see
Yep.
it. They see a lot of the floating orbs, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's dust, but
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was taking pictures of this hunt that I was on, and I would run back. I took a bunch of pictures. What is this? What do you think this is? Oh, that's dust.
right,
Okay.
yeah,
Take back. Oh, it's dust. Don't worry about it. It's nothing important. All right, fine. Burst my bubble.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I think the show I'm more the one I like to watch the most is Skinwalker Ranch.
yeah. For the UFO
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it used to be Ghost Adventures, but yeah, Skinwalker Ranch now is like, I mean, that's my go-to now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Can't beat it.
the things that
definitely.
well, they got paranormal and UFO stuff at
Yeah.
Skinwalker Ranch. Like the
Yeah,
Skinwalkers themselves, obviously, are paranormal, and then
yeah,
the houses that are out there, they do a lot of investigations on, and yeah, it's pretty wild. But if you're into UFOs, man, that's the place to go.
yeah. No
Yeah.
kidding. I mean that
Skinwalker Ranch.
the only problem with that show, and I love that show, is they need to start finding something
Yeah.
because they're
Agree.
shooting rockets off
Agree.
left and right, and
Yeah.
it needs I don't know how many more seasons it's going to have,
Yeah.
but they need to come up with something, and I think they're getting pretty close to something.
Well, like the
Um,
rocket launches, they'll launch them and be like, "Oh, it went off course." I'm like, "It's a rocket, man. It's not really,
yeah, a little bit of
I've shot
wind, it's
off,
going to move it.
yeah, I've shot off
Yeah.
fireworks before, bro. I know how this goes. It's gonna move a little
Yeah,
bit, but they make, like it's a production thing, and
yeah.
I get it, but yeah,
But
there's
that's probably one of the least sensationalized TV productions that
yeah
I've seen.
Mhm.
But
the
again, I mean, some of the evidence that they've come up with on the radars and the lidars and whatever
yeah
else, the possible portals and stuff. I mean, it's pretty darn interesting,
yeah oh
and
for
Oh
sure
yeah.
I certainly believe there's something, whether it's you know visiting us from outer space or already here or what. I certainly do believe that.
yeah. Well, when Robert Bigelow owned it, I mean, the government was involved. They were out there for years with Robert Bigelow doing
Yeah,
investigations and black ops stuff that they still haven't released a lot of. So who knows what they found?
yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
And it
Well,
doesn't sound like he's going to release anything anytime soon
no,
either.
no.
no. I'm sure a lot of it's probably secured by confidentiality with the government. But
Yeah.
the new owner, Brandon Fugel, he did a podcast and he was talking about like he's like, listen, I don't make anything on this. It's just costing me money. Like I have no reason to sensationalize it or
Hmm.
I just want to find out what's on it. What's on the land and because he's been obviously interested in it.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he
yeah.
and he was not a believer. He was like, I
Hmm.
don't believe in any of this stuff. And then I guess at one point, him and his wife had like a
Heart to
could
heart.
be considered an experience, and then
Yeah.
they kind of hit the ranch hard and doing a lot of
Yeah.
investigations. But
Yeah.
it's interesting to me. I love the place.
That would be certainly a great place to go if they would let you out there, but
Oh yeah, for sure.
they won't.
Kind of, you can kind of get close to it. They have some tent like spots you can camp, but it's not like terribly close to it. But I mean, it's a lot of open land out there, so you can see a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a road, I guess, that runs between two ranches that people actually camp on the side of the road, and they let you. They actually say, you can camp here, and they say every single night they see something out there that's unexplained or whatever. But
Oh, I bet.
it's every
I
single
mean,
night. Like
with all they do there to, poke the hornet's nest, as they say.
yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
something's surely bound to show up that, you can see from all over the place.
Right. Yeah, that's my wish list. If I get one place to go,
Oh yeah.
I want it to be that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. No kidding.
So have you had any kind of UFO experiences or anything or
No, I really haven't. The only time I did, it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Again at Ashmore, somebody was there that had one of those green laser pointers and stuff, and she was pointing at lights in the sky, and things were blinking back to us. So I mean, she was saying that that's a UFO or whatever. So like, okay, it's pretty darn far away, but
right?
nothing more than a little speck of light
Like
that
a
I saw.
twinkle type, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But last couple weeks ago I was on vacation from work, did a staycation here, and I'm laying in the pool, and I just looking up at the sky like, okay, anybody want to come out or anything? And nothing happened. I don't know if it was the sunlight that was in my eyes, and when I blinked, I would see like white specks and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's it. But actually, somebody sent me a video, an interesting video, that they took out of their front door or something like that, in the sky. It was like maybe a 15-second clip of something. She just saw a little black s- thing streak across her her screen.
Hmm.
And I was able to slow it down, enhance it a little bit. And when I enhanced it, I would zoom into that black spot, and every time I would zoom in, I would see another black spot and another black spot. There was like
Oh, no way.
seven black spots, and they were even moving at like 1% speed. It was
Hmm.
moving pretty quick across the screen. So I highly doubt that that's a bug or a plane or anything. So I mean, it still kind of went in a straight line,
Mhm.
but it was going way too fast, even at 1% to do that.
Oh,
So,
there's been a lot of good videos coming out, even like with the government hearings and stuff that have been going that went on for a while.
hmm
You're talking about super high end guys that, they know what they're looking at. They have a
yeah.
lot of experience, they're trained, they're trained to notice things that most people aren't. They're
hmm
pilots, they're, the best of the best,
hmm
and they come out and they say that, yeah, we see things all the time.
I just want to know
So
why like not a lot of people are asking questions. Like there's people like us that are really interested in this, but like the majority of the population is so numb to it now from seeing it on TV, they just don't ask
hmm
about it anymore.
Yeah.
It's
I
interesting
mean,
to see
I
that.
think we went from a time period maybe in the 50s and 60s where nobody would talk about it. And if you did talk about it, you'd be ostracized or something or fired from your job or
for sure,
whatever.
yeah.
And then, something happened in the 80s, 90s, and even now that people are more open to it. But, like you said, they're not asking a whole lot of questions about it. And, maybe it's that. And one of the things that I have trouble with today is it's so easy, even with paranormal stuff, ghosts and everything. It's so easy to fake stuff.
That's the
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and Photoshop and other programs like it are so easy
Yeah.
to do that. And I always say that everything that I put out, I only enhance it just to see it. I don't
Sure.
Yeah.
add anything to it, take anything away
Right.
from it or anything. So, I try to be as honest as I can with that, and I never lie. So I mean that's one thing that anything that I see and do, that's 100% true. Whether people believe it or not, that's up to them. So
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, I'm half an idiot and I can do Photoshop, I think. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
yeah,
anybody can do it. But yeah, no, if I were to do something like that, I want to know the truth. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Even if it's just for me. Like, I don't,
Oh yeah.
I'm not trying to con anybody or anything like that. I want to know what's out there,
Well, the
whether
hmm
it's
problem is
UFO,
now
paranormal, whatever.
that we have things that could be real, but people are like, oh, that's fake. But like we've never seen it. So how do you know it's
Yeah.
actually how it's
yeah,
perceived on a camera?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
like it's very hard to determine at that point. I mean,
Yeah,
what the government showed us with like all those and it was all leaked. I mean, it looks like something like, oh, that's just computer generated or fake, just because of how the camera was. It wasn't like a regular camera during the day. I think it was at night. The pill, like, it's like that white pill
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
following and they didn't know
yeah.
what it
That
was.
in out in San Diego. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like people could look at that like, people much older than us and be like, oh, that's just computer generated. Who knows? But it's yeah. No one know
I
no
got
one knows until they actually see it. How I would see it, like, oh, it's so hard to tell because of now it's like, are they giving us real stuff and they want us to think it's fake? And
Yeah.
so you never know. We can go down that rabbit trail with it. But
yeah. It what like you said, are they just feeding us stuff to let's just throw these out and they're
Yeah.
fake, and let the public say, oh, that's real. Let them fight about it while we're over here doing this other stuff at say
Right.
Area
Right.
51 or whatever.
Right.
yeah,
But yeah, I think those Tic Tac videos or whatever they're called, I think they're definitely legit.
I do too.
Um,
I
and
mean, it's something for sure, like
yeah, and when you stop and think about it, those all came out of the water at one point.
right.
And again, thinking about it, where else would you go to hide. We
Oh, yeah.
have dense forests,
Yeah,
forests,
for sure.
and mountain ranges and stuff, but we haven't even discovered a third
Yeah.
of what's down under the ocean
Right.
on
Yeah.
the floor.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, there's a great place to hide, and no one's ever going to see you down there.
Right.
Oh yeah, and
So
there's the people that went on camera and said all these things literally jeopardized their jobs because of what
mhm,
they saw.
mhm,
And it just shows how far they're gonna go with that story that I mean, they truly believe it. And it's completely believable hearing it from them that they
mhm,
don't care if they get fired. They don't care what
mhm.
happens, the repercussions.
Especially back in like the 50s and 60s, man, you couldn't come out and say you saw shit. Like
Hmm.
Right.
you'd be locked up in a mental institution.
Yeah,
You
he
know what
went
I mean?
missing 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And
I
he
saw a
just wasn't
UFO. Yeah,
about
well, we don't know where he went.
Definitely.
Like they'd lock you up, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's much more
Yeah.
mainstream now, so where I think you can talk about it, and
Yeah.
maybe
Which
you
is
still look
nice.
crazy,
It's
but
nice.
not as crazy.
Yeah.
But
Rather be crazy and right in the end than,
yeah. I don't
Exactly.
know. My only problem with UFOs is that they always talk about lights and stuff. They
Mhm.
saw these crazy lights and this and that. I'm like, well, if aliens are so advanced, do they need lights? Like, don't they have like some sort of
Night
Yeah.
vision.
yeah, something, you know what I
You would
mean?
think so.
Yeah.
Like that's what gets me. Like, oh yeah, you see all these lights. I'm like, what do they need to see? They're aliens. They can do
Yeah.
all kinds of
Yeah.
things.
And what is
Yeah.
that light helping them all the way up there? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, it could go both ways, but you're right. Thinking about
I
it
don't know.
that
It's
way.
just funny things. But you were talking about like being in the water and stuff. Well, then you got to ask, well, maybe they're interdimensional and they just come in between wormholes or whatever,
Mhm.
so that's
Maybe
probably
there's portals under the water.
yeah.
You know,
I
who
mean,
knows? Who knows?
portals are probably going to be way harder to prove than underwater. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe one day could come across something under the water, but
Yeah.
if you
I
don't
mean,
see
look
a
how long
portal,
it's taken the guys at Skinwalker Ranch to prove that there's a portal over the triangle.
yeah,
I
yeah,
Yeah.
mean, you just suspect it's how big this ocean is, and where are
right,
you going to even start looking?
right.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll never, I don't think we'll ever discover it all. Yeah. They say that we've discovered like 7% of the ocean, I think what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
yeah,
next
we're
to
not
nothing.
going to see it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's next to nothing. And if they can go to whatever depth they want,
Yeah.
you can't. You're
With
not
the
gonna find
speed
them.
they have. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we're never going to find anything in there. And if they say that, I've heard that volcanoes are possible um, base targets for
sure. Yeah,
UFOs as
yeah.
well.
Okay.
We're not going to get in there.
No,
No.
I'm
Yeah.
not going.
No, no.
Better send a drone or something. I'm not going.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
It's the
So,
same thing with like, well, Bigfoot too. They say in another dimension, he's just gone. He's like when people
Yeah,
spot him, he just
mhm,
vanished. No one can find him. You never know.
mhm.
I mean, certain things we just can't understand or just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah. I mean, are they running through portals, or are they just that
right.
fast?
Yeah,
I
right,
I honestly think they're running through portals. I don't think there's any way that they can cover great distances like they say they
right.
do
Yeah.
in a blink. There's no way.
And
Yeah, I
it's
There's
just,
no
mean,
way.
yeah.
the interdimensional part would definitely make more sense than
Yeah.
they're just super fast.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
it's you talk about Bigfoot, and when you get into like other cryptids and stuff like that, you're talking about like Mothman and stuff like that. I don't
Mhm.
some of that stuff gets a little wonky for me, but I try, but I can't wrap my head around
Yeah.
some of it. But
I was just watching it was Paranormal caught on camera downstairs,
yeah,
and there was one footage. I can't remember where it was, someplace in Mexico, I think. That they saw, oh, what do they call this? It was just completely black figure, it looked like a reptilian, and it
okay,
had three fingers, really long fingers. It was a phrase that I had never heard before, like oh, what was it? Frogman. It wasn't Frogman, but it was
right,
something similar to that. And I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
really? We're gonna add another one to the mix?
Yeah, I got enough to research, bro. I don't have time for more.
Yeah. I'm just now getting ghosts and UFOs down. I don't need
Yeah,
any more Bigfoot and
one at a
oh
and
yeah.
time,
Frogman
man.
and
Let me get through what we got, and we'll go back.
yeah. Why is it always Dog Man, Moth Man? Why is it like
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dog Woman?
the one thing about aliens, and it's funny that you say that because like you would think, even Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about why he doesn't believe that aliens might exist because they're too much like us. The ones that are described, they're too much like a humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think, being from hundreds of millions of light years away, they've evolved into something that we wouldn't even recognize as an alien. They might just be a blob, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or whatever, So that's one of the points he brings up, and it's kind of a good point if you think about it. Unless you look at it and go, okay, well, nature has decided that we are the most efficient shape, or you know what I mean, like we're the most efficient idea. So maybe that's the case too, but
Yeah.
mm. So
Yeah.
I was watching a couple of your other podcasts, and you got into tarot cards and stuff like that. I think you did one the other day.
I did one
With
Tuesday,
tarot cards.
which actually I was supposed to do one Tuesday, but my guest's internet connection went out and he he ended up dropping out of the show, which kind of
Right.
bummed me out. But
Right.
I've done a few of those and those are pretty interesting. I really don't know much about that.
Right.
And for a while I was kind of going through a phase where I was really intrigued by mediums.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
We did
And
that.
one of them came through, or she said my grandma came through. I mean, I
Right.
believed that she said something that, no one else would know, that she actually called me.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was kind of neat. And, ever since then, I've kind of, wow, is this real? Are they really with me and stuff? And,
Right.
I've like smelled my dad's cologne down in my basement, kind of
Really?
drifting by me. So I'm
Wow.
like, oh, okay. I mean, Old Spice, that's pretty common
Well,
cologne
yeah.
Yeah.
for old guys. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's something
Yeah, we
around.
interviewed Daniel
Daniel
Jackson.
Jackson.
I think you talked to him too at one point.
Hmm.
I saw.
Hmm.
That's a very interesting guy. He was a good
Oh
interview.
yeah.
He was fun.
He was a good interview, and actually, so my wife had an encounter here actually one night, probably about 15 or so years ago, with but at the time what we thought was we called it an Amish person,
Okay.
Right.
because it had the top hat and the long coat and everything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to Daniel Jackson, and he's describing the Hat Man
Mhm.
image that he encountered. Did he tell you about that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
He's doing that, and I'm like, wait a second here. You described it as a tall, dark figure,
Mhm.
black hat, black overcoat, no facial features. Some people say that they see the red eyes on
Mhm.
Hat Man, but luckily my wife didn't see the red eyes.
Oh yeah.
That was exactly what my wife saw. I mean, to the T. And he sent me a picture of it, and I showed her, and she said, "Yeah, that's exactly what she saw."
Wow.
So we had a
Wow.
Hat Man encounter in the house.
Wow.
But from what I have gathered, excuse me, is that when you see the red eyes on the
Hmm.
Hat Man, that's more of a death is coming, or
Demonic
Oh,
yeah,
type.
demonic
Yeah.
presence. So we didn't see that, thank God, or she didn't see that, thank God. So
he
Well,
was definitely really interesting to talk to.
yeah.
yeah,
Tyler had two guys standing over his shoulder or something, so that was
One was Charles and was it Charles? Yeah,
it was
Charles.
Charles and Robert.
really,
And
Robert and Charles.
weird part
Yeah.
is Charles is my grandpa that passed away about 6 years ago. And then, but Robert, I still don't know who it is because I do have Robert's my dad, but he's still alive.
yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out who the other Robert would be, but he's, I mean, dead on with Charles right away. I'm like, what?
Did he
So I mean,
describe them?
um,
Not really.
not really because
Yeah.
of we were in the moment where we were still like we were just fast forwarding talking and like, but he did a quick one and
Yeah,
that was about it. And then went to Ian and
Yeah. He
then,
said I had a dog that was with me or something that was
yeah.
behind me. I'm
but
like,
yeah,
And how would he know that your grandpa's name was Charles?
that's the
Really?
weirdest thing because
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
don't share any of my personal life like with a lot of people. It's just like
Mhm.
close friends. But the
Yeah,
fact that he got it dead on, I mean, it wasn't even a blink of an eye and he said it. I'm like, what? I'm like, there's
yeah,
no way. I mean, it was
yeah.
just it spooks you out in a way, especially with like if like how he I don't know how like it comes to him. Like he explains it, but like it just weirds me out that he knows these things like that out of any name he could have picked. He picked the right one.
Hmm.
And like just was I was close to him and things happened and he passed away from cancer. But
Oh,
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely an interesting guy. He was talking about being like the light, and like
Mhm.
and he was explaining how he like gets a touch with your yes and no, and but
Mhm.
I mean his story's solid, man. Like he holds up with it. Like it,
Oh yeah.
Oh
if it's
yeah.
bullshit, it's he's got it right. He's good.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
he told me that I've been, what did he say? I've been on this is my 27th life
Okay, yeah.
here. I'm like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember any other ones, but
I know, right? It's
interesting,
all
very interesting.
You haven't gotten it right 27 goes around.
I'm still getting it wrong, so I'll probably be here another 27 after this.
I promise you, this ain't the one. I know me. This is not the one that's going to get me
it
through.
was
Yeah.
really weird to hear him say like he knows when he's gonna die and how he's gonna get captured. Did he tell you about that?
No, he didn't.
Yeah, so where he
Yeah,
lives,
he said in September of
September of 25.
2025 that he was
Yeah,
going to be
Really?
taken
he's gonna be taken
by the
and
government, basically. I think he said like the
yeah,
government, right? Is that
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
right?
wow.
Something like
Because
that.
of what it was is he's not only like a medium, but he also does
Remote
um
viewing and stuff
remote
like that.
viewing. And
Yeah.
so like he was telling us that one of the remote viewers they saw each other while they were remote
Yeah,
viewing.
he found somebody remote viewing him.
And I
Whoa.
don't know if you know much about remote viewing, how the government actually had their own like section of it for people learning remote viewing and
Yeah, they
Mhm.
were teaching
yeah,
it, and
they're teaching I think they still are. And
probably.
yeah. And right where and pretty much right where he lives is where they do it.
Yeah, he said he's
And
like 2 hours away or something, and
yeah. So it's
And
like
he gave the month, and I'm like, well, I will talk to you in October of 25 and see
yeah.
yeah, no
and
kidding. No,
see if this
I'm
works
following him
out.
on Facebook, so I'm gonna have to write this down to make sure that I'm following him really closely.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
around
Because
And
September, I'm gonna start watching
it's
real
just weird
close.
because he's so dead on with things that it's like, do you want to like, and if he knows like certain things that, like he said, I don't know if he explained to you, like he knew that I think it was someone's father died when they were he was at the mall. Was
Oh
that what it
yeah,
was?
yeah.
yeah, I think
And
so.
he decided to tell them, I think, right? On that one. I can't remember if he
Well, no,
said,
the kid would see whenever he saw himself,
Hmm.
oh, okay, yeah.
somebody would die.
Yeah.
So whenever the kid, the
But
kid that saw himself, like the kid saw himself in the mall, and then
Yeah,
like his father died or his grandfather
yeah.
died. But
it
every time he'd see him, somebody died.
yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and
I
Yeah.
so
don't know if what I would do if I knew someone was gonna die. Like, how would you break it to him or just don't say anything?
that would be pretty
Like
freaky if you saw
That
somebody
would be weird.
holding all that in
yeah,
the whole entire time. If it's actually like I believe it, like it's hard not to believe him with what he's
Yeah.
saying. So it's like if you like it would just feel horrible in that
Hmm.
situation to be him.
and then he
Like
talks about not being able to talk about certain things. Like, yeah, I
yeah,
see what's happening. He said he saw like COVID coming and stuff like that, but he couldn't. You can't tell people or whatever the case for whatever reason.
Why not? I
That's what I
mean,
said. I'd be like, whatever. What are they gonna do?
I'd let a couple slip. I'm
That's what I'm
sorry, but
yeah.
saying.
That's
just
COVID. Um, but,
Yeah.
I can sort of get that. I mean, people, I mean, starts talking about this and then people are going to start wondering like, what are you up to? What are you doing?
Yeah. No,
But
for
he
sure.
did tell me that because I remember after he told me that story, about seeing things, my wife, if she dreams about, has a vivid dream about somebody,
hmm
something usually happens to him.
Really.
Like
okay.
she had a dream about one of her friends, and she called them like the next day, and friend's mom died. I mean, that wasn't part of her dream.
So
Yeah.
she doesn't dream what happens. She just dreams about them.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
So if and I told her, don't you ever dream about me?
Yeah. If you do, don't tell me because I don't want to know
Yeah,
what's going on.
Yeah.
leave me out of it.
I like to be
Um,
surprised.
and
Yeah.
it's been pretty accurate. I mean, and even lately,
Spooky.
she when she wakes up and I dreamt about so and so, I'm like, oh crap, you better call him
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and make sure everybody's okay and stuff. So yeah, but that's kind of weird. That I think that's where I learned that she was an empath.
Oh yeah.
So
Has
So
she had
spook.
other experiences like paranormal experiences or anything like that that she of?
no, her dad passed away right before we got married, and she saw actually my son saw him in the house when he was a real little kid, but I kind of take that as he was like 2 years old, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
younger kids like that they can see that stuff.
Yeah.
She
Mhm.
said that she bumped into him one time here She was backing up or something, and she felt something, and when she turned around, and wasn't there, but she smelled his. I think he smelled cigarettes or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, and then like shortly after he died, they were at my mother-in-law's house planning the wedding, and so he had cancer, and he couldn't get around too well, so he had like a doorbell that he would press.
Okay.
So somebody can come up and get him.
Sure. Yeah.
And we're talking. And you know what? That reminds me of another story. But they were talking downstairs, and all of a sudden their doorbell went off, and there was nobody at the door, and he'd been gone for like a week or two.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I don't know if it
Wow.
was a short in the thing. But at one point we were looking to sell our house because it's just me and my wife and my son here, and we have a two-story house, and you don't need all this space. So we had the realtor in the house. We weren't, somebody put an offer on the house or something. We didn't have any place to go. So we were getting frustrated, and all of a sudden, and we at this point we'd been in this house for 10 years, and all of a sudden our um, radon detector went off.
Oh,
It had
wow.
never gone off before.
right.
Yeah.
This was like right after my mom died or something like that. And I'm like, okay, that's a sign we're not moving here. My mom's here. We're not moving here. We're not moving.
Yeah.
So
Right.
then we took it off the market, and we never moved. So that was another weird sign. I'm glad you brought that up. That reminded me of that.
Definitely. I would say they're definitely good signs. If you get those and you're like,
If it
just
works out,
stay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
It's funny you brought up the bell. I don't think I've ever even told Tyler about this. Not my last house, but the house before this. I had a girl. I don't ever sleep very well. I always kind of sleep light. So any kind of noise will wake me up. So about 3 o'clock in the morning, I would hear the doorbell would ring. But I didn't know if it really rang. You know what I mean? It's one like you're halfway in, halfway out. You don't
I
really know
remember
if the door
this.
rang. I might have told you about this. I think,
Yep.
yeah, we might have been working together when this happened.
We were.
So I get up and I sit up in bed and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, did it really happen? Like, did it really? So I kind of like waited to see if it rang again, and it never rang again. So I went back to bed. And this happens like once a week for I don't know a month or 2 months, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, yeah, and it's late. There's no kids in my neighborhood really at the time,
Right.
so I'm like, they're not really ding dong ditching me. They're And I got up a couple times and I looked and nobody was there. So then one night I had my girlfriend over and she had her daughter and my daughter was there and they were sleeping on the couch, and I heard the doorbell, and I'm like, and then at that time I was kind of like, I swear I think I heard it. But then I kind of sat up and I saw her daughter walk across the kitchen to the living room to go into the kitchen. And so I woke her up and I said, hey, go check on your daughter and make sure everything's cool. She goes out there and she's dead asleep. Both of them are dead asleep. I'm like, I swear I saw somebody just walk across my
Whoa.
living room into my kitchen. And I was awake at that point. So like it was out of the corner of my eye, but it was to the point to where I never saw the refrigerator door open or like the light or anything. But I definitely saw somebody walk across, and she was about the right size, walk across the living room. So I went back to bed. I didn't think about it. And like a couple days later, I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom. And when you look into the mirror, you can see into the closet from behind through the mirror. And I had a safe. It's a small safe, nothing big, but the door was like ajar. But I never go in it. I never went in the safe. I didn't have anything crazy in it, just, paperwork stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, maybe I went into it at some point. I don't know. So I shut it. I didn't think anything of it. And I lived alone at that time. And about a couple of days later, I doing the same thing, and the safe's wide open, like wide open, like the door is open. And I'm like, what the hell's going on?
And you've locked it.
And I locked it. Yeah, I locked
I
it.
remember
I
this,
left the
dude.
key in it because there wasn't anything in it to take. But
Yeah.
it was really just for like if a fire broke out or whatever.
Yeah.
So and yeah, the safe was wide open. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. So I shut the door, I
Wow.
locked it, I took the key out of it, right? And I put the key on my key ring so I could take it with me. So that was the only key I had. And so about a couple days later, I heard the doorbell ring, but me and my girlfriend at the time were fighting. So I was awake. Like I was, I was up all night arguing with her by text. And I heard the doorbell ring. So I was wide awake. I know that fucking doorbell rang this time. And I was furious just because of the fight we were having. And I'm in my underwear. I jump up, I grab my gun, I run out front. I'm walking around my
I remember
yard
this.
in my underwear, like nobody's out there within anywhere. I searched my yard, the neighbor's yard, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what though? I totally heard the doorbell that time.
Yep.
And I'm like,
Everyone's
Yep.
I'm selling this fucking house, man. I can't do this. So I ended up selling it. I never really had any issues since, but that
Yeah.
was
I
that was
remember
like
that.
my
That
real.
wasn't that long
That
ago.
was like
I mean, it was, but
2016, I think, 15.
yeah.
But
I
it
Yeah.
was,
remember when you told me, and I mean,
yeah.
I remember that
I
day.
was
Yeah.
thinking about it the other day. I'm like, thinking back, I'm like, that's a pretty fucking crazy story that, you
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
it all happened just like that. And the craziest thing was when she walked across the kitchen floor or walked across the kitchen. I'm like, all right, that's kind
That's
of weird.
weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. So
I
I don't
had
know.
one, I think the day before, my son wanted to go get something for his computer or something, and I was thinking, okay, he's gonna want to get up early and go. And he usually sleeps, there's no school, so he usually sleeps till about noon.
Sure.
And I'm laying in bed, and the dog around 5, 6 o'clock, our dog starts crying and wants attention and stuff. So I'm awake, and I look out in the hallway and I see a black figure walk from his room down the steps. I'm like, oh, Thomas is up. I guess he really wants to go deal with his computer or whatever. So I kind of laid and pet the dog a little bit, and I'll just get up. And then I'm glad I was quiet because I went in his room and I almost I was because I always look on someone when he's on summer vacation. I always look in his room and I close his door so we don't wake him up.
Yeah.
So I went in there and I almost kind of jumped in there and was acting like a crazy, stupid dad.
Yeah.
He was sound asleep.
Wow.
And I was dying for him to get up. I'm like, when he finally did, I'm like, did you get up around 5 or 6 o'clock and walk downstairs? He's like, no, wasn't me. I was sound asleep. I'm like, no. Saw a black
Wow.
figure and walked down the steps. So
Wow.
What does he think of it when do you tell him these things? Like, hey, I saw this. Does he ever see anything like that, or is it
mm-mm. He
just
never
yeah,
sees that. I mean, he's interested in this stuff too,
yeah,
but well, I mean, he's 17 years old. He doesn't want to talk to mom and dad too much.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, he's like, no, wasn't me. I didn't see anything. So,
Wow, it's wild.
man?
yeah. And then what was the other one I was going to tell you? Um, oh, last it was during football season, the playoffs last year. It might have been January or whatever.
Mm.
So the way our family room is situated, there's a TV here, there's a couch on the other side of the room. I was sitting on the couch, again, petting the dog. And behind me is a small wall, and then our kitchen's back there. My wife was in the kitchen making dinner or something. And we have surround sound speakers in the ceiling, and but they weren't on. When the TV's on, for some reason, those aren't hooked up, and
Mm.
I don't know why I did that. So I'm watching TV, and all of a sudden I hear a whispering voice that said, "Oh my God." And I look over because it kind of came from my right.
Yeah.
And there was just a corner there. The dog, it was just past the dog. And I'm like, honey, did you say something? And she's like, no, I thought you said something. So we both heard it.
We
Oh,
both heard.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't the TV because the TV's that way.
Yeah.
And there's speakers above me, but neither one were on
Right.
at the time. So I'm like, oh. And all of this is happening after I start doing these podcast paranormal shows.
Okay.
Like, maybe I'm opening myself up more. I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah, I've thought about that when talking
Yeah.
about these type of things. Maybe
Yeah.
the ghost is just a football fan, man, and there's a
I
big play, man.
Yeah.
I
I think
I get
it kind
excited
of was.
sometimes. I get it.
Yeah. Oh my God, Dallas lost again.
Yeah. They
Sorry
blew
to all
it
you Cowboy
again.
fans out there. So.
I know, right?
I'm not. I hate the Cowboys.
Same
They
here.
suck. I'm a Saints. I'm a Saints fan, so I mean, the past couple years I can't talk too much, but
Yeah.
we got a good run.
Yeah. They took our football team away, so I don't have really a
Yeah.
favorite team. So
Yeah. All right, man. Paul, man, I appreciate you coming on today, man. Thanks for spending some time with us.
hey, no
I
problem. It's been
wrap
fun.
it up here,
Appreciate
and
it.
you want to tell a little bit where to find your podcast? Just on YouTube, or where you
Right now, actually, I'm on YouTube. It's called Paranormal Among Us. There's the name of it right there,
Nice.
Paranormal Among Us. I'm also on Apple Podcasts and I should know this.
Spotify.
Spotify, thank you.
at? There you go.
I'm on those, and yeah, come check it out.
Awesome.
I love doing this stuff, and I try to have as much fun as I can doing this, and I try not to take too much seriously. But
Mhm.
You
this
get
is this is
you
fun
get some
stuff.
pretty
So.
interesting guests. So where do you find those guys? Facebook? I know I do a lot of Facebook stuff trying to find people.
Yeah, Facebook, I watch other shows and, try and if I see a guest, search them on Facebook or
Sure.
just Google their name and
Yeah.
stuff. And, you know, I don't want to get them like right after they're on another
Sure.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of cool that, you kind of, when you have a guest that you saw on another show, they're saying the exact same thing.
Right.
So
Mhm.
you're like, okay, they're legit. I mean, either
Yeah.
that or
No,
they're
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
really, really good actors, and
For sure.
you don't get the emotion and stuff with
Yeah.
that. But
For
a
sure.
lot of them that I've come across are really honest to God good. So
Yeah. Well,
Oh yeah.
I enjoy your podcast, man. I'm gonna keep watching it. So keep
thanks,
doing what you're
appreciate it.
doing.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
if you ever want to get together again, we're always down for a good nerding out. So
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
all right, brother. Everybody go check out Paranormal Among Us. And thanks for checking us out. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Later.